Alright, the elevator is laid out as it would be if it was like on its hinge laid up on top. Okay, it's just like you would want it to be if it was hinged. And now we're going to lay the fabric right over the top of it. And this is going to create the hinge when we adhere to it. Okay, it's simple enough. Come right over the top, taunt it down. I got to make sure it ain't gonna move anywhere before I actually do it. Like masking tape it down, pin it down, or whatever I'm gonna have to do so it doesn't move. And then I'll just throw the iron basically right across here and give you some tacks. Tack yourself on, and then go ahead and finish the cover on the bottom side of the elevator. And then you're going to trim all this excess off, and then you're going to go for the top. And when you go for the top, now you're going to lay the fabric over the top of the hinge and almost do the opposite of what you're doing now for the top side and the bottom side. Before I do cover this up, I did not cover the camera. If you look right here on the inboard side, I had to do some cutting out in here in order to lay this thing on the elevator up on top. I had to make a notch out right in here. Had to start doing a little bit of cutting, which no big. And also, I cut out a good sized chunk of balsa right here. That's an 1/8 inch. No, that's a 1/4 inch of balsa. That's a 1/4 inch piece of plywood that I just went ahead and just spliced it right in there, and that's where your control horn is going to be. You got to beef up your control horn area. I get a little carried away all the time, but I never seem to have a problem like everybody else. So that's what it looks like just before I covered it up. It's just a plain out block. And then of course I also have both elevators are pinned together. They're as one piece right now. They're pinned together, full level, glued together. So let's go ahead and hinge it. Here we are with the right hand is done. I still haven't cut off the excess. And you can see, in order for me to lock the elevator in from moving anywhere, I've got it to where I wanted it, and I threw a couple of T-pins in there. T-pins ain't gonna hurt anything. Just a T-pin on each side just to stop it from moving. And then I went ahead and I just start ironing that one on. And then make sure you got the hinge point right here. Oh, look like I'm picking up a wrinkle already, but you can't get rid of all the wrinkles. Okay, let the camera focus. And that's the hinge line all the way down. Make sure you got that nice and taut. You want to start there. You want to tack it and drag it over. And then slowly just kind of drag it to shape and stretch as you go. Ironing, I'm not showing you ironing technique because of the fact that it's an art and that you have to learn it on your own, just like safety wire or anything else. You get the basic idea, but each fabric is different, each type of fabric is different, each type of material is different. Irons are different. Everything's different. So all you got is just your basic iron, and this ain't an iron. This is a, okay, that's what the iron looks like, and that's just a basic covering iron. And certain temperatures for certain materials, everybody's got their own technique. I seem to be doing pretty good so far. I learn something new every time. And there's many different styles of irons. And to clean it, like when I was using the green monocoats, some of the green would come off onto the iron, and then you end up getting messy and start transferring it. Keep track of your iron. You can get socks for them in order to protect your, like the see-through transparent, prevent scratching on the material, so it don't look all scuffed up after you get done dragging the iron all over it. So you can get socks. and then clean them with the fabric softener sheet you throw in the dryer with your clothes. And it's just clean off the bottom. See, you can see that's rather hot. And it puts that fabric softener on there. It cleans off, gives you a chance to clean off everything. And then actually, believe it or not, it makes it a little bit slipperier there for a while, so you can like really haul ass. But you can get a better iron than that, about a $35 iron. It's got like Teflon on it. And it's so-called will slip and slide and all this kind of good stuff. So I'll probably get one of those eventually. But I haven't had too much problem with just a regular iron. It's like a $15 iron there. And I've covered everything in this room with it. So I guess it depends on how you want to go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish at the bottom side, trim it out, and then I'll show you the top. Here we are. With the bottom is done. It's all cleaned up. Bottom is basically complete. See now, we have somewhat of a basic hinge just out of the fabric. So now we want to cover the top. Got this neat little unit here, another specialty tool, or you can just make one out of scrap wood and all that and just measure it all out. This here is just something else a modeler's got to have. You put it on here and it's at an arc, and it just tells you the degree of travel. You want to try and put the upper layer on at just a little over your maximum of your travel. That way, when this thing is moving up and down, so you want all your hinge, so you can see the fabric is along the top side of this. So we're going to almost just take this top piece right down over the top, and it's going to be nice and clean. So when it's hinging, you're not seeing the hinging. You know what I mean? If you don't want this to be wrinkled right in through here. You want this to be like a clean transition. So when it's working, the top fabric is actually keeping the elevator up against the stabilizer. Plus, I guess that would probably make sense right then and there, huh? Just you want to try and keep this as taut as you can so you don't have a lot of slop. You don't want the wind to tear the flight control back off. So I guess your upper, you not only want this to be a clean transition with no wrinkle, but you also want it to keep a taut surface on there to keep that elevator where it should stay. So we're going to go ahead and start putting the top on, which should be fairly clean. I need about an inch of travel up and down from neutral. So we're going to find out where that is, and it's going to be on the lay down side. So we're going to put that down where we want it, keep it right there somehow, and then we're going to go ahead and throw the top pieces on, and then elevator's done. Okay, here we are in attempt number 1. Like I say, turn down that damn scanner again. This is the first time I've ever attempted to use coverall for hinging, and it shrunk up a little bit more than I thought it would. I tried to set this at a point where I felt comfortable with it, and then I had this side completely on, and it shrunk up so much that it took all of my travel out. You can see it took me a while to get it back off. It was easier to put on than it was to take off. Because once that stuff seeps through the pores of the fabric, it's kind of glued. So it took me a while to get it back off. You can see I burned all of the 5-minute epoxy, and I peeled all of the sticks it back off. And you can see the fabric's trashed. I was going to try and go halfway and then see if I couldn't refix it, and then the fabric was just trash, so I just went ahead and took it all back off. And we're going to attempt it again. This time I think I'm going to do it with it laying down like this. That way if it shrinks, I had one side shrink on me, and then what's the effect of the other side shrinking at the same time? So I might end up coming out right in the zone that I want to be in. So this is worst case scenario, more or less. I've had this happen on monocoat once too. Monocoat is a real bummer to take back off, because the stuff just, when it heats up, it gets soft and it peels and it just, all hell breaks loose. I think I might have pictures of that somewhere when I did the Gentle Lady. So worst case scenario, here we are, we're starting over again. I had to reapply some Stix-It to get my new piece of fabric to stick to it, because I think I took most of it off with the fabric. I'm not sure, but just to make sure, I got some more on there. So here we go again. Okay, here we are with the top. The top's all ironed on. I got it captured. I think I have the hinging situation that I'm going to need. Seems to be workable. So now we need to flip it upside down. And I don't believe I showed this, but since you're using the Stix-It as an adhesive, the bottom's covered. See a little bit of wrinklage there. The bottom's covered with fabric already, so I had to go back around the areas that I plan on tacking this fabric down to. You have to go ahead and brush yourself some more adhesive on there. So I've already done that, it's cured. So now all I have to do is just stretch this around, overlap it on the bottom, make it look clean, and bottom aileron is complete. As you can see from the bottom side, I don't know if you can see it all that clear, but see how, because we did the top side first, see how there's a vacant space right there? That's the illusion that you get, or that's not an illusion. All your fabric is on the top. Your hinge is on the top. There's an open gap right here on the bottom. Your hinge line is right along the top side of all of this. That's how the hinge is actually created. And then because you're covering up the entire surface, instead of hinging it with regular hinges and leaving it open, you're preventing drag and a lot of other things. So, so far so good. Alright, here we go. Here's, the horizontal stabilizer is completely covered. It's done. Voila. That's it. Came out pretty sharp. Second time around. Didn't take me that long second time either, because I kind of got the edge out of it. It was like, it takes you a little while to get back up to speed. You know, a little practice as you start picking up and warming up and all that. Then it becomes rather easy. Right now we got the floods of 95 going on the scanner all over the television. Day 56 of the strike, and the world's coming to an end. Damn, I think the Highway 2 going out to Monroe is underwater. Snohomish and every other river is over its banks. Due to a lot of warm weather, we have had some excellent warm weather this year for the winter time, but it keeps melting the snow and it's bringing a lot of water with it. Anyway, this is the horizontal stabilizer with the elevators on it. They're permanent now. If you want to take them off, you're going to cut them off. So that's why you wanted to do this at one of your later stages, because now it's a permanent situation. But now it's completely hinged. And now I can either make the option of going ahead and rigging it now without the vertical finished, or I have the option of the rudder now. I can go with the rudder. Get you a side view. There's a side view. And all I gotta do now is get this rudder on here. and cover the vertical, and I have a whole different situation on covering the rudder though, because I can only use like half of the vertical for a hinge point for the fabric. So I just might have to go ahead and throw a hinge down here at the bottom to actually secure it into the body, and then cover it with fabric after the fact, you know what I mean? I want to make sure that it's got a good, strong hinge to it, but at the same time, I don't want to make it look like that's what I did. Kind of hide the fact. The bottom side of the stabilizer, fairly nice and clean. The cut that I made on the fabric, because you see the overlap on the bottom side, all the overlap that you see is pretty fine. And what I mean is I use the iron to kind of sink it into the trim glue or the Stix-It that I put around to adhere to it, so it's actually stuck down to the fabric. You really can't feel it that much, and then when I give it you start doping it, all that'll kind of disappear. This one here is going to be pretty because now I know how to wet sand, or I think I'll understand how to wet sand, versus I didn't do anything of that Trainer 60, even with the floats. I did not go any kind of wet sanding or anything. I just sanded it pretty, and there you go. Okay. Also, what I have to worry about now with the rudder is the tail wheel. Where'd I lose it? Tail wheel. I have to tie the tail wheel into the rudder. So I have when I'm doing the rudder situation now, I'm going to have